Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beacon TVL show, your source for fun takes and great analysis of the week's news in the on-chain, blockchain, crypto, and digital asset economy. I am your host, Chris, the DeFi professor, and got a great show lined up for you. Just finishing getting the word out today, and I've got a really great co-host back to just talk about all the great stuff that's going on. We've got our friend Robert Omega underscore 84 underscore 84. Hire this
Mhm.
man. How are you, sir?
What's up, man? I'm good. Good to be back again.
We had a lovely talk about Polkadot before
Yeah,
we came
I
online.
was just repping my 2025 ETH Denver polka dot shirt.
Is it the long sleeve or the short sleeve?
The long sleeve.
I have that. I feel terrible to say this. I actually have it in a bag to go to Goodwill, to go to charity. Because,
That's
I
where,
mean,
that's where most of my
let's
crypto
be
merch goes.
honest, right? So, whenever I go to conferences, I always pack an extra luggage, literally just for swag. Everyone knows I am a swag addict. I mean, by the hat from DFDV, the Soldatco. Shout out to those guys at DFDV. From that to I was wearing my Stand with Crypto socks. Uh, I have all kinds of different types of swag, even just here around the studio that I probably should organize and make part of the background. But yeah, I mean, I have that exact shirt. It's actually very comfortable, if I may say.
It
So
is.
shout out to Polkadot for understanding the assignment in the weather in Denver and giving out long sleeve T-shirts. I have a
Yeah,
B&B chain one as well that's also long sleeve. That's quite nice. But yeah,
I was, tell-
what were we saying about Polkadot?
I was telling you that I was wearing it ironically because of the price.
Yes.
Price of dot. But no, but besides that, we're talking about we just got on a little tangent about how they're still building cool stuff technically.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the tech with regards to Polkadot, right? Because if that's the case, then we wouldn't have multiple other groups building on top of Substrate and parachains, or just their mainnet, just like BitTensor did with Finny. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, I think it's just a matter of figuring out the right sauce to get the overall industry excited about using Polkadot tech again. I don't know what
Yeah.
that answer is. Do you?
Well, we're saying like the Jam, the
Yeah.
Jam upgrade platform might be a thing. I mean, it's like I think the basic concept is like just renting out like sort of compute and block space, and so like that could be that could work a lot better than the parachain model. And I've heard Gavin Wood, who's the founder of Polkadot, talk about like I was saying to you, like talking about sort of like tokenless apps and projects launching on Polkadot. I think that's kind of where things are heading. So I think if they ride that trend, they could be okay in a couple of years.
Yeah, I'm the fact that they've made it this long, if we're being honest, because there's been tons of teams sunsetting. Even CEX is sunsetting in the last week or two, which we probably should discuss at some point. Um,
Hmm.
they've made the changes, right, to make sure that ADA, not ADA, sorry, that dot stays sustainable long term, right? Ada did the same thing with their most recent DAO vote, where they actually turned down doing an annual conference to help keep those funds alive and pushing towards continuing to make Ada great again.
Yeah, like a few years ago, like Parity, which is like the Polkadot Foundation, I think. Sorry, like I think I froze there for a second.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, they like fired they like invited all their staff to a summit and they like fired them all like during the summit in Europe somewhere. Uh and then they were got criticized for spending a ton of money on marketing a couple of years ago, like paying KOLs exorbitant amounts, etc. And then they fired all those people and stopped all that marketing nonsense. And so yeah, it seems like they're kind of tightening up the belt straps as well.
Yeah, we'll see exactly where we go from here. But with regards to a little bit of an open, I did want to lead with this part, and that is I almost pressed the finish button. I'm like, nope, that would be incorrect. Now, Apple has had an upgrade program forever. They have a trade-in program. Now they've kind of merged it all together with a partnership here with Klarna. Are you familiar with Klarna, Robert?
No, I haven't heard of it.
So Klarna is like it's like Pay It Later, but Klarna is famous for breaking out whatever you have into four payments. From a merchant perspective, and I can tell you that because at Beacon we do accept Klarna through Stripe. Um, you can take whatever you have and break it down into four payments. That is the Klarna signature, if you will. From a merchant standpoint, you get the full payment. Klarna takes advantage of, uh, you know, doing that for the customer. The customer can, has their terms, and they have a full collection vehicle behind it. Should you not make your payments, so the idea that they're going to use the word lease here is interesting. But what is available specifically? Interestingly, well, I guess the Mac Mini is involved here because it doesn't say that it's not. But iPhones, iPads, Macs, and Apple Watches all under this. So you just pay a monthly fee. And for what it's worth, it actually doesn't come out in a predatory way. It's the actual amount if you do the calculations from multiple things that I've seen. And then at the end of the lease period, which is either 24 or 36 months, you can now pay it outright, or rather pay the difference outright to keep it. You can hand it back, or you can trade up for something else. Uh, so for something like a MacBook Pro, to be able to get one, I think for like $38 a month, now we're looking at something that might be a little bit more accessible for the majority of people, especially after hearing about all the great things that they're doing with regards to AI, with privacy. Uh, this is all a very interesting idea. Why does the Mac Mini look like that? That is interesting. I would not buy a Mac Mini with a big old red apple on the top. That is wild.
Not
uh,
what it actually looks
but
like, is it?
what's that?
That's not what it actually looks like, is it?
No, no, no. But I mean, this looks like a Mac Mini, but maybe they just had a little. I don't know. It's weird.
Yes.
Uh, so it's all set up for you. It's all upgraded. To my knowledge, I don't think you have to carry Apple Care in all these devices. Actually, yeah, you add Apple Care, and yeah. So there's all of that. So if you ever wanted to get into the ecosystem, specifically for the MacBook Pro, because of just how good of a device that it is, regardless if you're doing creative work, video, if you're looking to do something specific, I'm assuming the Neo is going to be on this as well. This is a way to do that. Do you?
Hey, man, I'll be right back. My cleaning lady is here. Sorry.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
So anyway, what's interesting about this, and probably the one thing I did want to talk about with having these devices available, is that it just makes it a lot easier with regards to uh, really just getting to the ecosystem. Not saying that Apple products are I guess the status of blockchain. Is it? Everywhere I go to a conference, someone's on some type of Apple device in some way. That doesn't mean that that's like the product to have, but if it's something that interests you, and because you didn't have a chance to be in it before, now you have the ability to have the access to an Apple device and at least snag some of the stuff. Let's just call it at a more, yeah. Yeah, at a more accessible point, because for a lot of people, like my M1 Max, I bought it on, I bought it I bought it refurbished, but uh, like $2,400, right? That's a lot of money. If that's something you can't have at the moment, being able to get some of the best products on the planet with regards to creation and production in multiple industries, this is not a bad deal. I don't know. Does this make you want to grab possibly an Apple MacBook Pro, an M5 or something like that, Robert? Seeing
Yeah,
like you
I'm
can get
curious
one
about it.
for. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious about it because I wonder how much they ask for like a deposit, if they ask for a deposit at all, or if they
I don't
just
believe that they
run.
do.
That's interesting because isn't that kind of risky on their part, or do they just ask for your credit or maybe something like that?
Well, here's the thing. So because they're with Klarna, they're going to get the full payment of whatever the device is. Klarna's technically on the hook for this. But this is what Klarna does. Klarna partners with all kinds of uh, industries to bring this about. So this is right up their alley. Apple just needed another revenue channel, and this is definitely one
Mm,
that they could have taken advantage of, right? Because Klarna has quietly become the ultimate pay it later uh, device, right? There used to be things like Square Pay or PayPal's Pay in Full. That's what PayPal calls it now, right? Pay in four. Uh, but PayPal was originally the buy it now, pay later type deal. Klarna has turned that into a beautiful branding experiment. And the fact that they've got Apple now as, one of the biggest partners for them is huge. I mean, this could see a lot of people buying an iPhone. Big thing on the iPhone though, just so you guys know, if you're gonna get an iPhone, you have to choose in the US between the big three. So Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Those are your only
yeah.
options. Now you can big thing on this. That's fine, right? For some people, like, okay, whatever. But the phone is unlocked. That's the other thing I had to look up, because then that opens you up to, products like World Mobile that do DPIN, other types of eSIM products that require you to have an unlocked phone. Those are all available to you as well. So a little bit of a compromise, yeah. But if you're getting the ability to have it accessible to you, there's that. So this is going to bring more Apple products into the hands of more people. So people can't complain anymore that there's an Apple tax and things are way too expensive, because now you have the ability to actually get an Apple product in your hand, whether it's a phone, a watch, uh, and I just happen to have all of that. I have the iPad, the Apple Watch, the phone, and the MacBook. So am I
Mhm.
shilling here? I wouldn't say so, mainly because I'm happy with the products. It's just a matter of, for a lot of people, some people are turned away from Apple by saying it's way too overpriced. If you look at it, the only two things that they really overcharge for, in my opinion, is RAM and storage. But who isn't doing that these days, right? So it's not a bad way to get into the ecosystem. Uh, the question I saw was, how does this work? Uh, if you miss three payments, the full payment is due. It's consecutively. So they have that. I mean, all the Klarna terms are available. But if you've ever been looking to get into some really good stuff with regards to creation, development, uh, that type of stuff, you may want to consider looking into the Apple Upgrade Program. I've considered it specifically. Why I care about this, I don't know. The Apple iPad Pro, being able to get into an iPad Pro, which for like a sidecar product, is an extra monitor. Plus, it's plenty good as a device for development. Pair at a quick Bluetooth keyboard or something like that. It's pretty smart with regards to that. So I don't know
I
why I
would do
care
it.
about that. Would you do it?
Yeah, for sure. Because I have an iPhone 12 still, and I'm like every year I'm like,
I didn't know it was a 12. My goodness.
huh?
It's a 12, huh?
My iPhone?
Yeah. That means you have a lightning connector. My goodness.
Yeah,
Come to
exactly
the
right.
world of
But
USB-C, brother.
I know, Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like each year I keep just procrastinating. I'm like, oh well, I mean, I could have bought an iPhone last year. I could have bought an iPhone the year before, like a newer one, but I just keep
Hmm.
procrastinating. And because it's just like I don't want to drop another $1,000 on a phone. I just don't feel like it. I mean, I haven't
Right.
needed it until so it's only been this year when it started slowing down, right? So like, I think most Apple products have like at least like a 5 year lifespan. A lot of them longer, but like the phones have like around a 4 or 5 year lifespan. And so it's like, okay, now it's finally starting to slow down and die. Um, and I still don't want to pay $1,000 for a new phone, but this would allow me to get my foot in the door and just like, okay, I could just go to the store, get an iPhone 17 or whatever, and then boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to like having to commit to it for 5 years. That's the whole point.
Sorry about that. All right, let's go check out the market real quick. So yeah, I mean it's a and really just giving you guys the idea, especially if you're going to do AI development or if you're just going to get into coding, or if you're just looking for something for everyday use. Apple products are great for that. So looking at the market, we are still just sideways, which is great because this is what we've talked about the entire year. This is going to be a year where we're just going to be rangy between 1680 for a while. And it's been that way. So it's a great time to be in LPs, great time to do leverage, not leverage, delta neutral. Leverage, in stables and correlated, that's fine. But overall, we're seeing a time where Ethereum, ETF wise, outperforming BTC over the last couple of weeks. Also, just in price, the ETH BTC ratio started to drop fairly considerably. It's cooled a bit, but overall, they're starting to I guess come back together and stay fairly correlated. There's some bidding for some other things here. There was an XRP rally that seemingly has failed, but overall, the market continues to just kind of stay where it's at. 35 fear and greed. Uh, eh, I think a lot of that has to do, honestly, with Robinhood. Robinhood's lighter chain has absolutely taken over a lot of just volume, especially for RWAs. On one of our community calls last week, we were diving into the fact that Robinhood has fantastic concentrated liquidity plays for tokenized stocks with volume. So that's something you may want to consider if you head out to um, Uniswap on Robinhood. VFAT and Revert also are supporting on Robinhood. So uh, something to consider if you're looking for multiple options for concentrated liquidity doing tokenized stocks. So that part's going to be good. Looking at bubbles, I have no idea why Cato was up 34%. No idea at all. Other than that, this is not shocking for the week. On today, again, why is Cato up 22%? Uh, mm, I think it's overall just the uncertainty of the entire market. What do you think, Robert? With your thoughts on what's been happening for the past 2-3 weeks?
In terms of the market overall, you mean, or
Yeah, just like it. I mean, none of this is shocking, I guess, but
I don't know if Cato like changed their model recently or what's happening there.
probably not.
Yeah, but to me, it just feels like a slow bleed, just from normal bear market kind of chop and bleeding. Yeah, but like, I mean, today's the FOMC meeting.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that's already happened.
No, that'll be at the top
But
of the hour, actually.
okay, yeah, Bitcoin's been chopping up and down a bit and anticipating that, but yeah, I think it's more of the same. What have you seen happening over the past 2 to 3 weeks?
Well, just with regards to the Clarity Act potentially passing, which we'll talk
Oh
about in a
yeah, yeah.
second, and just with regards to the geopolitical things, right? We have um, the U.S. and Iran still going at it. In fact, Iran hit some bases in Jordan, and President Trump has already vowed to hit Iran very hard today. So we'll see exactly how that goes. Oil is up on that news, so we'll see. I can tell
What
you
if,
that at least that oil is back up to that point where now we're just kind of like curious to see where we're going to go. The strait is still closed, but there's better infrastructure to move things west, whether it's uh, you know through Saudi Arabia or some other spots to get oil out of the Middle East. I don't want to
yeah, and
say
then one
we're
of the
reliving the Cuban Missile Crisis here, but I do wonder at what point would President Trump decide to fire missiles, like big missiles, or like put boots on the ground, right? These are all things that are very scary. And I don't know, man.
well, looks like the odds of the Clarity Act being signed into law this year are down to 29%. So
Yeah.
that's a big factor too.
Well, before we cover that, I did want to give out our some sympathies and just some hope to those. Japan got a 7.1 earthquake and off of Kyushu Island in the southwestern part of Japan. So um, this is overall a lot of the infrastructure was okay, but a lot of the infrastructure that probably wasn't earthquake safe did not do well. Full buildings flattened. Infrastructure like roads and stuff like that seemed to be okay. A couple of trains derailed, falling on their side due to the ground shaking. Uh, you know, I lived in California for nearly a decade. Robert, you're a native Californian to a degree. Um,
Yeah.
it's hard for earthquakes because you never know when they're going to happen, and you're thankful when they're small. Like I've been working in an office when 4.5, 5 happened. I'm just walking to the printer, not realizing that it happened until I saw things moving like lights and stuff like that. So uh, you always hope that it's never the big one. I don't know. You've been through a couple of earthquakes, I'm assuming.
Yeah, man. I grew up in LA and I lived in San Francisco for 7 years after that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then also I moved to Mexico City 10 years ago. And there was a huge earthquake here, like a year after I moved here in 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, if you, like, I think a similar number of people got killed in that one, as this one in Japan. And, yeah, it was a big event for sure. But yeah, even growing up, there's the '94 Northridge one. Yeah, I've been through a few.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you've been. Yeah, I remember that one like it was yesterday. That was crazy. That one specifically. And we always talk about what the big one would kind of look like. I mean, 7.1 is not crazy. Now, Japan is in the ring of fire, much like a lot of Southeast Asian nations. So this is not unexpected, but still, these things have butterfly effects, right? There's ripple effects. Shout out to the surfers who are going to follow the swells off of this one going across the world. But yeah, we'll see exactly what happens. But hopefully everyone in that area is okay, obviously. But just wanted to, just something to think about. Just something to think about.
Yeah, it's just too bad that there's not like financial incentives for cities or countries to earthquake proof as many properties as they can, or
Yeah,
to yeah. But I guess it's very expensive. Yeah. So,
exactly. Well, let's go and move on. Since you mentioned clarity, let's hop onto that real quick. So when I went on my research stream on Monday, I was under the impression that we were supposed to get a floor vote on Monday the 27th. That didn't happen. It was more like the motion to consider a floor vote, which is not really what a lot of people were reporting. Even Eleanor Tourette had mentioned that there's supposed to be a floor vote on Monday. That was shelved by Majority Leader John Thune because he wanted to prioritize a bill about Russia, and I guess some sanctions about that because it was in honor of the late Senator Lindsey Graham, which is something that Lindsey would have wanted. So there's that. That's why the Clarity Act didn't really go to floor for that. People are talking about the fact that the president has the authority to not let Congress go to recess. that would be interesting. Overall,
I,
we you're saying I'm sorry.
oh, I haven't heard of that before.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that either. But there are some interesting things with regards to what's going on there. There are some ethics counter counter offers, I guess would be the word to use here. Senator Cortez Masto from Nevada had mentioned that they'd come together for a better workaround. Senator Gallego and Senator Tillis from North Carolina also put together, some things to really just work. And honestly, if they can get to the floor based on how this is being framed with the ethics concerns, the training for law enforcement, that was something that we talked about last week, Robert, that I thought was really cool, is that they're going to put in a whole education piece to help train both prosecutors, law enforcement, special, NGOs, not non-governmental organizations, on how to deal with blockchain and how to deal with, ethics and crimes around them. So I think that's actually very important because, half the people that are going to be talking about this or dealing with this know very little about how crypto and digital assets work. They have a predisposed idea, and frankly, none of that is very close to the truth of the true potential and power of what big institutions and other even sovereign nations are doing with regards to blockchain. So if they can get us to the floor before the August recess, there's a chance that this actually passes. It's better than in my opinion, obviously I'm just full transparency. I'm an ambassador for Stand With Crypto. We think this is going to actually get to the floor. It just has to get the right sequence of events happening to get it there. And once it does, based on the framing of that, plus the idea that I think 14 nations, I said on Monday, have passed blockchain framework legislation, including Russia, including Japan, including South Korea. If we can't necessarily pass this basic framework to get started on the idea of what market structure includes with digital assets, regardless of what people say on either side of the argument for this legislation, the US is falling behind. They're falling behind in AI. I said it. They're falling behind in crypto leadership. And a lot of the things that people talk about in the ethics piece with Trump media and how much money he's made off of crypto will continue to go unchecked, right? Because he put in the bill, the verbiage in the bill that neither himself, any elected official, any of their staffers and their spouses, they didn't say children, can no longer, own crypto, shill crypto, issue crypto. They have to sell their crypto and put it either sell it or put it in a blind trust. Stuff that he's been doing, by the way. For anyone who's curious about that, if there's one thing that Donald Trump knows how to do, it's how to do business in the way that works the best for legal purposes. So there's no way that he was going to get gotcha'd on stuff like this, right, Robert?
Yeah, I was gonna say earlier, like with this whole blocking the recess thing, and then also the way that he's handled, like you said, the way he's handled things so far. I think he's got like a whole team of lawyers, like just pouring through
Oh yeah.
every
Oh
every
yeah.
executive rule and document that he can exploit uh,
Exactly.
or anticipate. So yeah.
And that's what businessmen do, right? That's what capitalists do. They try and figure out how to stay in a gray area while still trying to maximize profits. I mean, that's no one should be shocked by that.
Yeah.
So, speaking of law enforcement, the the National Sheriff's Association, uh, well, I guess Cortez Masto is also part of a BRCA thing because the National Sheriff's Association, BRCA would provide specific protections for decentralized operators, developers, entities with regards to that. So, not to overwater the whole thing too much. So, the SEC and the CFTC, which the Clarity Act defines as part of the market structure with regards to responsibilities, along with the FDIC, have already put out something that they're going to follow for the next couple of years, assuming then this is with the assumption that they felt that Clarity was never going to make it to the floor, which is called Project Crypto. Uh, this is going to happen, in my opinion, regardless if Clarity passes. So in the event that Clarity passes, then this is just that supersedes whatever this is, or this is just a building on top of that. So stuff's already in place. That's why we called 2026 the year of integration, because regardless of where Clarity stands, it institutions already moving over. Swift, all the member banks, all of that are going to have access to this technology and blockchain rails. It's all a matter of, are they going to do something with it? And the idea that they're going to is going to happen regardless. It's all just a matter of who else is going to join them. Because there are a lot of people, obviously, Robert, in this world that without legislation, they're not going to act because they want to make sure there are no legal loopholes or just any issues that can just be repealed and suddenly they're just left holding the bag, which is the main reason why clarity is important for a lot of people in this world to pass, at least from the US standpoint, because the US will not lead in crypto if they don't have this market structure bill around. They can act like they can, but there will always be like they're walking on eggshells because they don't have an actual act that's been codified into law that defines these terms. So just want to get your thoughts before we move on.
Yeah, I was gonna say earlier too. Like, I'm kind of curious where the resistance is coming from now. Um, I understand they're like the big banks, still many of them, or maybe most of them, are against it. But it seems like a lot of big banks, I think Fidelity, even correct me if I'm wrong, Goldman Sachs, but there's been a few, right? A few big ones that have come out, and even BlackRock in favor
Yeah.
of the Clarity Act.
Yes.
And so it seems like it's trending in that direction. So if Democrats, or whoever else are kind of you know, in the pocket of the big banks, or the big banks are in their pocket, I should say, maybe. Uh, then who are the ones really resisting at this point? If a lot of these big banks are already coming out in favor of it.
So to answer that question, it's just a lot of the smaller stuff, right? So the ICBA, the Community Bank Association, the NCUA, which is all the credit unions. Now Rodney Hood, shout out to him. He actually said that he they don't mind the Clarity Act. It's more a matter of echoing concerns about uh, deposits flying from these to things that are on chain. Interestingly enough, if banks, I mean, if credit unions and smaller banks lose customers to things on chain, it most likely will be to big banks that have
Mhm.
already put their infrastructure on chain. People like JP Morgan, Bank of America, Goldman, as you mentioned, Bank of New York, Mellon. There's a bunch of big banks that are quote unquote too big to fail that already have rails and access into this system. There are multiple projects that are out there trying to help these smaller institutions get that same access, which they can get, by the way. Uh, if you're a part of a smaller, regional bank, or you're part of a credit union, you're looking to figure out a way to get into this space, get access, and you're not one of the 11,500 member banks under Swift, you have options. Feel free to reach out. Happy to have conversations and help you. I have multiple parties on this side of blockchain that are looking for customers like you, specifically to get you access to handle stablecoin deposits and all of the technology that comes along with this. So we've said this multiple times. Banking as a process is never going to die, right? People will always need financial institutions to handle large sums of money if they're not looking to be self-custody maxis, right? Just because there are some people who don't trust themselves. So they'll trust an institution to hold that money for them. That concept is never going to go away. The groups doing it will. And that's the main reason why banks were so fidgety about this. They didn't want to be in a position where suddenly they're going to lose stockholders, customers, and just get a huge drawdown immediately due to people seeing the fact that they can earn even 3% on their deposits, which is something they can't find at most banks here and credit unions here in the country, or probably in the world, if I'm being very honest. So there's that. Now, what was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Well, we'll move on to two other things. One thing I wanted to talk about specifically, Robert, as you and I have both been at the forefront of this, WhatsApp from Meta launching web calling, which is like a video conferencing inside of WhatsApp. I'll be honest, I don't know a ton of people in the United States that use WhatsApp all that much. If I'm being honest, based on people I talk to, most people don't use WhatsApp. Around the world, WhatsApp is supremely popular.
It's the by far the number one app messaging app in Mexico.
Yeah. I mean, around the world, WhatsApp is huge. Whenever I go international to talk with international groups, they all have WhatsApp. Some have Signal, but mostly WhatsApp. And what's interesting is that they've been testing this for months. I know, I've seen them. And I've been on some calls on WhatsApp, actually. And they're fine. They work just fine. What I'm hoping for, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because I get attempts to be scammed and phished all the time. In fact, I have 2 in my inbox right now that I'm pretty sure are phishing attacks. Wanting to talk to me to interview me for something. Or just like have an opportunity they want me to learn more about. So be very careful out there. Robert, have you had this issue yourself? I'm pretty sure you have.
In WhatsApp, pretty rarely, but
But it could increase now that this is out there, right?
yeah, it could increase now that that's out there. Yeah, I've had the issue on Telegram a lot, but yeah, WhatsApp not so much.
Yeah, Telegram just as bad with that issue. So now that that's out there, just be very careful. You don't know
Yeah,
who you're always talking to. There's a chance that who you're talking to may not be legitimate. It's easy to fake AI video now, right? So
yeah,
just be careful, ladies and gentlemen. Now that this is out here, it just means larger surface attack vectors for bad actors. So yes, this is great that you can pretty much call whoever you want through WhatsApp, which is a Meta product, by the way, from Facebook. Well, the company that owns Facebook. So,
hmm
New Hampshire. Did you know that New Hampshire's saying is "Live free or die"?
yeah. I knew that.
Oh, I didn't know that. So they're one of the first states that
Actually, it's
have a
live free or
Bitcoin.
die hard.
Live free or die hard.
Yeah.
Live free or die hard politics. So they have these new blockchain basic laws to use what blockchain is, how the technology can be used within the state. We're going to see more of this across multiple states, probably multiple countries. Um, that also protects basic blockchain related activities, stating that no state or local government agency or subdivision thereof shall prohibit, restrict, or otherwise impair the ability of an individual to engage with them. This is going to be a very subtle concept. I believe is in the Clarity Act, if I'm not mistaken. But SEC Chair Paul Atkins has already mentioned this with regards to how blockchains and DeFi work. You're going to see subtle references to that in multiple bills like this across the country, where states are going to step in and say, you know what, our citizens are going to be allowed to engage with blockchain-based things without any issues from us, unless you live in New York or California because of their laws. But I don't know. Do you think this is good to have decentralization and markets, digital markets being defined at the state and possibly local level, Robert?
No, I don't think it's good overall. Um, when it comes to being able to run a business in certain areas, yeah, to some degree, I can see like in terms of like licensing. I know New York's really strict with their licensing, and they tax that kind of thing heavily. But in terms of like consumer laws, it doesn't seem like a good idea. It seems like it's going to create a lot of inequality and inconsistency.
Well, let's think about states that don't have certain taxes. Like I think South Dakota is one. Missouri has no capital gains tax on anything that's a quote unquote investment. So that could be real estate, that could be collectibles, that could be crypto and digital assets. So stuff like that I think fits in with this narrative. I guess the better question is, uh, at what then you have the Illinois problem, right? Where Illinois is now going to tax 1%. That okay, I see your point there. Uh, it's all good until you get to a state like Illinois, where now they're just going to charge you 1% just for moving money between wallets, right? If they can.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
don't know how they're going. Like how do you, if I'm not mistaken, when we reported on it before, the whole thing with the bill was that they were going to leave that up to the CEXs to kind of take care of, and they have to report them. So then the user will then be required to pay taxes. Then I'd have to double check exactly what the verbiage was, but yeah,
Also, Minnesota recently passed a law, I think, right? Anti-crypto law. Or they, yeah.
I thought it was pro crypto, but I'll double check.
Oh, okay.
So it's interesting to see exactly how states are going to continue to, I guess, figure out for their citizens how they should feel. The narrative overall, from a federal perspective, is that self custody, blockchains are inherently part of the American DNA, pursuing the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's part of it's interwoven in that specific narrative. So it's nice that SEC Chair Paul Atkins is doing that. There's no guarantee that any other SEC chairs following him are going to feel the same way, or any other administrations are going to feel that same way. Uh, so we'll see. We'll see. Other thing I wanted to talk about with you, sir. Well, we'll pivot before we head to the circle thing. Let's pivot. Let's pivot specifically to data centers. So I don't know how people will think about this because it's a hot button issue right now, right? And I can tell you, being here in the Omaha metropolitan area, we do have a very major military institution here, which is Offutt Air Force Base, home to the presidential bunker, meaning that thousands of feet below the firm dirt here in Nebraska lies a bunker that will protect the president from ever being hit by an ICBM fired from either coast. That is the hope of the presidential bunker here in this area. Imagine if half of that was used specifically for a hyperscaler or data center. Which, frankly, if you think about it, they already have most of this for, right? Most large military installations have their own power grid, have their own, in some cases, closed water treatment facilities, in some of them. So being able to, I guess, bring in more money. I didn't even think about that, because generally money is brought in through like defense bills and stuff. What if the majority of money, and there's actually a surplus into the budget due to due to leasing parts of bases that are just sitting there as actual places to build data centers on? Now I know this says exchange for access to computing power. Oh no, there's going to be a commercial move here to bring billions of dollars into the military budgets. That's an interesting thought. What do you think, Robert?
So let me get this straight. So building AI data centers on at least a dozen military bases across the U.S. I mean, that makes sense to me. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
it makes sense.
I mean, better to build them on military bases than residential areas, right?
Right. Well, that's kind of the thing, right? So in a lot of parts of the country, people are very upset. I even saw Willie Nelson, post on the timeline about, there are farmers who are being pressured to sell their land to commercial data center providers or builders. And while I understand that, uh, they're going to build these things regardless of how. It's just a matter of what method they're going to build all these data centers on, whether it be in the ocean, in outer space, uh, whether they just break it up so that everybody, with the the bolt-on at-home units from Nvidia and Dell that literally look like just a secondary um, AC unit. That's how big they are. And inside of it, you pay $150 to have it on your property, but then they pay for all of your internet. They also pay for all of your electricity used from that unit. And all it does is just a mesh point within the data center loop to provide compute for all the things that are going on. So it's interesting because people have issues with this, but then some people are like, well, whatever we need to do to win the fight against China or whatever, right? So there's that too. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Um, I'm not against it at all. I mean, this plan in particular, yeah, just in terms of like the overall trend of taking over land for data centers. It just surprises me that there's not enough land that's like unoccupied, or just open out there that they can use where they need to take over certain farmland or neighborhoods or things like that. I guess it's
Yeah.
because of the proximity to the town or cities.
Yeah. And I've seen multiple Air Force bases that literally just have acres of concrete just sitting there. I can tell you that, I drove by the backside of Offutt not that long ago, and
Mhm.
it's fenced off, but there's like easily a half mile of just concrete that's out there. That's just aging and doing nothing. So to contain it in a spot that already has resources to keep it running, I mean, it's I'm kind of shocked they hadn't done this before because oddly, from a business perspective, it makes sense for, Nvidia or whoever to come in and, pop a, or even groups like Bloom Energy. Bloom Energy has this really cool energy system where they use organic compounds to use natural reactions to build, electricity power that could power some of these data centers. So uh, it also takes it outside of the issue for local businesses, right? Not local business, but ultimately, if it's on government land, right, on a military institution, you don't have the same issues that you would have
Mhm.
for putting it in a spot where you have to pay, you know, local taxes and stuff like that. So I'm actually kind of shocked this hasn't been brought up before. But, obviously we're in a situation where they're looking for money for things. So this will certainly bring a big influx of cash into the Department of War. So this is,
Yeah, I think you mentioned this. Yeah.
yeah.
So I think you mentioned that it also has the dual purpose of protecting the data center too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's that too. Yeah, man. I just thought
Built-in
about that too.
security.
Yeah, you have built-in security with the military police at all these things. And most people aren't going to sit there and crawl it over into a military base, right? That's insane.
Mm.
So, we'll see.
Especially
Huh.
when the uprising really begins.
And you're already seeing that with flock cameras, right? So, uh, I don't know
Yeah.
what to think about this. So this gets into pilot now. I read somewhere that uh, They were going to reopen the draft on December 1st. Not that it hasn't already been opened. It's been open for years, but it's going to say all eligible males are going to have to register by December. Don't I think you have to do that when you register to vote anyway. But regardless. Um, anyway, let's move on. NVIDIA has created an open secure AI alliance, trying to make all of these groups like come together and share information. Palantir being there, if you haven't seen the Alex Park interview on CNBC, watch it because it's very interesting. Is this all theater? Who knows? But they're all going to work together. I don't know if you heard about this story last week, Robert, but Hugging Face, the venerable model aggregator, came under attack from a rogue OpenAI agent that broke out of its sandbox. And they tried to defend themselves using frontier things, and it didn't quite work. They had to resort to Chinese models to help defend themselves from what the AI agent was doing. Granted, this is a test for specific functionality, but still mildly terrifying that AI agents can break out of their sandbox at this point.
Yeah, I follow the Fireship YouTube channel, so
There you
always
go.
up to date.
There you go. Shout out to them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild though. I mean, I don't understand how they were able to upgrade their permissions within the sandbox to escape. That's
Maybe
some
the
pretty
answer
scary
is
stuff.
they've been able to do it for a long time, and this one just messed up because they were badly prompted. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Well, speaking of protection, shout out to Taco. He's at Rare Evo with a lot of people we know. Logan from Stand With Crypto, the Nebraska president, he's out there with a lot of different presidents from Stand With Crypto. Rachel from On-Chain Media, she's out there as well, and they're all meeting out at Rare Evo, which is a conference that celebrates a lot of different projects in this space, but mostly with the Cardano slant. So we'll see exactly how that sets out. So Taco put this on my radar because unfortunately, unless something changes, I don't think our ledgers and Trezors are inherently safe from quantum signature breaching. So this will be interesting. So it's EAL6 plus secure element. There's two different secure elements to keep your information safe. Interesting. It's open source. And it will have quantum secure assets and firmware updates to help battle against quantum issues. Now, the date for quantum, I believe the government raised it, actually pushed it sooner, all the way up to 2030, I want to say, 2031, when they're really going to
I think
be really...
sorry, I think it went from 2035 to 2029, actually.
The Google one pushed it to 2029. So I think I heard 2030 recently. Again, we can certainly double check on. Either way, that's not that far away. That's 3 years away at this point, 3.5 years. So there's a lot of people that are in a situation where they're looking to figure out how to get their assets quantum safe. Now, I don't believe that these are shipping yet. No, you have to reserve. Are we going to 0.93 ETH? How much is that?
It's like 0.1. That's like $150.
Yeah, $150. Yeah, roughly about that. Yeah, yeah, because 1,800. So 1,800 right
180.
now. So yeah. Quick maths.
Yep. That's not bad.
That's not bad. That's not bad to make sure that you have a device that's
Right?
going to be quantum resistant, and it's open source, which is good. So if something happens to PQ1, the source code for someone else to pick it back up and keep it rolling should be fine. I don't know. Would you get one of these?
It's basically the same price as a hardware wallet, right? A normal one.
Oh yeah, for
Pretty-
sure. Like if we go to let's open Ledger's website, shop.ledger.com. Yeah, cheaper than these guys.
Quantum proof one is cheaper. That's crazy.
That's kind of crazy. Now that you're going to have now, let's preface this. They're still looking to create the device. There's no guarantee that they'll actually have the device shipping by Q4 of this year. So it's kind of like a Kickstarter in a way, right? Uh, but you can pay with ETH, which is nice. If they have like they have a pay with card option as well. So in the event that you don't have ETH or you would prefer to pay in Zcash or something like that, that's something that you can do. You could also use a card that uses things like privacy coins. There are those cards out there to do the automatic conversion on the backside. So I don't know. What are your
Would there be?
thoughts on quantum? I mean, are you worried?
Well, I've heard like conflicting reports that say like that it's going to take several years for Bitcoin to upgrade to become quantum resistant. Some people that say much less. So I don't have enough like internal knowledge or technical knowledge of Bitcoin, um, the development core that they have, to know how quickly they can move. But it's like with this, for example, like you get a quantum proof wallet, but if the network hasn't upgraded by then, it's a moot point, right?
Yeah, that is a moot point. There's that. But you're self-custodying your assets on a platform that is already quantum safe. My
Mhm.
question to that is, what if the standard changes? Right? So that's the one thing I'm worried about. I mean, because this is an umbrella issue of yes, it can prevent itself from quantum, based attacks using current, hashing technology, whatever is out there. If that changes, does this render that device moot, or will this is this something that'll be good and last? That remains to be seen as well, but we'll see.
Mhm.
Shout out to everybody watching. Shout out to everybody on Twitter, on X, on YouTube, on Twitch. Shout out to everyone who's watching on X. Shout out to Rachel on Chain. I see her in the comments. Kevin Clark as well. Good to see you on YouTube. Shout out to everybody who's watching on the Arena on Avalanche, arena.social. Check them out. I love to live stream there as often as I can. And shout out to everybody who's watching thanks to links from Facebook as well as CoinMarketCap and Farcaster. Good to see you guys. So, uh, one thing I also wanted to cover today is this one. And I just realized that I'm not even sharing the screen. So let's fix that. Circle has acquired 1,000. Yeah, 1,000 issued patents worldwide from IBM's blockchain patent portfolio. Makes Circle the leading US blockchain patent holder. I'm interested in this because why? The first is the why, right? I mean, it makes sense. I mean, looking at it back, I'm more about why did IBM decide to sell these? Because for the amount that they sold it for, which I believe probably pushed by IPO funding. Oh, I don't see it here. Um, I thought this was open source. Oh, sweet summer child. Oh, comments. Gotta love the. Oh, this is good. Yep, no. Patents from 2018 to 2019. Granted, we don't know what the patents are, but apparently this is probably for them so they can lay some claim to some of the things they're going to be putting out on the Circle Arc blockchain, which is coming to mainnet very soon. IP is still a big business in this world. Uh, I don't know how I feel about this just yet, but I think it's a very interesting move that Circle felt the need to let's just call it do a very American thing and buy patents for foundational blockchain ideas. It makes me wonder, like, exactly what are they going to claim patents? I mean, well, claim ownership of. What are they going to claim ownership of? That's the part that I'm very curious about.
Bitcoin, all of it.
The way that you transfer Bitcoin, we own that process now.
Yeah. Did they list the notable patents that they acquired?
They did not.
Hmm.
They did not. And that's the
I,
part that's
I
interesting.
I often forget that IBM still exists.
Yeah.
Um, like seriously, when their stock, I think their stock recently pumped, right? Just randomly,
Yeah. Oh, I mean, this
and I
is
was
why.
yeah, and I was like, oh wow, IBM, that's right, yeah. But yeah, I'm curious what they actually acquired there.
What's interesting is really, yeah, like I said, what can they claim, right? Can they start suing people? Are they going to start suing wallets? Because I'm assuming there's some blockchain wallet transactional stuff here that IBM owns from a patent perspective that they wanted.
Is there anything in the in the Clarity Act that lays the foundation for um, enforceable action for these kind of patents that didn't exist before?
No, no, and I
Okay.
think that's half the reason why they bought them is that so they could have a reason to get federal injunctions and trademark requests. Um,
That's what I mean. Is that once the Clarity Act gets passed, there might be
or
more
if
of
it
a
doesn't
path.
pass,
Oh, touche.
hmm yeah,
Yeah,
I'm still processing this after hearing about this from the other day. I'm like,
it seems like
because I've been trying to figure out what's that.
sorry. It seems like they're anticipating something that or any some scenario where they will able to, yeah, actually use this. Obviously, so.
That's the number that troubles me, right? 680 plus patent families. I mean, I can really just think of about a dozen different vehicles in DeFi that you can use to earn yield or return. What has IBM been cooking that they have 680 families of patents with 1,000 of them already issued worldwide? So
Yeah,
I'm like almost halfway terrified to see who is going to feel the wrath and who's going to start paying Circle some serious money because you
yeah,
will believe there'll be some licensing deals being made pretty quickly on this.
yeah. It's pretty crazy. It's surprising too because you haven't really heard anything about IBM and crypto over the years.
No,
So
but they're
they've just been
mostly
sitting on.
infrastructure, right? It's just
Yeah,
infrastructure and just maybe the concept of something. Hmm. So now I'm wondering, should Stripe be worried about OpenUSD? Is this why Stripe is trying to take over PayPal? So they can get PYUSD because OpenUSD might fall under whatever this patent issue might be. Like I said, I'm just, you know, throwing things up there. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. But this is when I saw this, I was like, moves like this only happen because they're going to take action against somebody, and not a lot of people are talking, brother. So
yeah.
we're gonna see. I don't know. I'm aging myself on this, but do you remember when Nintendo tried to flex a gazillion patents across people in the video game space? Do you remember that?
Vaguely, yeah. Well, like
Yeah,
in the early 2000s, late
yeah.
90s or something.
Could this be a rehash of that, where suddenly every large entity that's recognizable by Circle is going to go after all kinds of different companies for infringing on their patents?
Are
So
you saying Circle is going to be the Nintendo of stablecoins?
they just might be, brother. They just might be. And that's a great segue into the last thing I want to talk about. God, you're good at this, brother. Thank you so much. So,
Sure.
shout out to Maurice, by the way. Uh, I, I don't. Obviously, this is just a talking point more than anything. This is something we talk about all the time. On this for the last 5 years, we've talked about how stablecoins are the killer app of crypto. However, this gentleman thinks the stablecoins are ranked third behind Bitcoin and NFTs two very, I mean, Bitcoin is Bitcoin, but NFTs as a concept, most people think are about pictures of PFPs, profile pictures, or like you know various funny meme things. But NFTs have real utility. I don't disagree with the fact that NFTs are one of the most important applications of digital assets on this planet. Is it better than stablecoins though?
Is he
I don't know.
including is he including tokenization of anything,
I
or does it mean
possibly. Well, I mean,
like like RWAs, or does it just mean like PFPs and art and stuff like that?
I don't know if NFTs will ever push into the tokenization of stocks and other digital assets in that way, just because of just their nature. Because NFTs provide universal ownership through a token that's completely non-fungible, right? It's completely unique. So it makes sense for certain things. Now, I look at NFT utility more for what can be done to provide ownership. So NFT utility will be important in self-custody for digital citizenship, right? Insurance rights, uh, identity rights can all be encompassed in NFTs, which will be non-fungible and also immutable once they're deployed a certain way.
What about
Yeah,
stuff
that's
like
kind of
tokenizing your own property, like
yeah.
individual
You could
properties?
certainly do that.
Yeah.
You can certainly do that. Um, that's not, it's funny you mentioned that. Someone actually I saw that on the timeline. People are worried about tokenization because they're going to tokenize my house, and then someone digitally is going to steal it away from me. Like I don't think it works that way, but um,
Yeah.
I can see the fear. I can certainly see the fear for that. Uh,
Yeah, imagine getting your hardware or your wallet hacked and your house is in there, you know?
mhm. Yeah, the deed to your house is now belongs to North Korea. Hmm.
Yeah. I know, but yeah, of course it's going to be paired with the, digital IDs, so there's a
Yeah, of
backup
course.
mechanism.
Yeah, there'll always be a backup mechanism, but I don't know. Do you think that Bitcoin and NFTs are better products than stablecoins?
I don't think they're. I don't think you can necessarily compare them in that way.
Yeah.
Um, I think they all support each other. They're not really ranked necessarily. I would argue that stable coins are should definitely be number two over NFTs or whatever like tokenization specific thing that they're referring to there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think Bitcoin is a very novel concept, period, and the fact that it still has all of this momentum behind it is fantastic. Uh, it's a bit antithetical that it needed, the leader of the free world, quote unquote, to kind of figure out a way to manipulate it to get more people interested in it. Um, and unfortunately, that's how the masses wanted it to happen, so that more people would adopt Bitcoin. Um, hmm.
Well, I don't think stable coins would. I mean, they would exist without Bitcoin probably, but Bitcoin is like the Trojan horse that got people into crypto through several waves of price action. You know,
That guy agrees.
yeah.
Well, if you're out there in the comments, let me know what you think. What is the true killer app of crypto? Is it Bitcoin? Is it NFTs? Or is it stablecoins? Tell us your answer. Curious to know what you guys think. Again, and I haven't mentioned this already, if you haven't had a chance, if you're enjoying what you're saying, again, thanks to Robert for being here. Please like the stream. That really helps us out, helps other people see what we do every week. We've been doing the show every week since December of 2021. And we love talking about the news and breaking it down into everyday conversation that you guys can learn from. Right? There's a lot of people who don't know a ton about DeFi. They know about certain parts of digital assets and crypto, but not about the whole subsystem overall of how DeFi works and what all the potential and things that are available. So, uh, yeah, I think it's interesting to see. I still think stablecoins are the killer app of crypto. Why? Because it unites everyone around the world around something that is very near and dear to them, which unfortunately is money and having access to money, access to sound money that is anti-fragile and censorship resistant. Uh, Stablecoins make the world borderless, right? You're in Mexico City, I'm in the middle of the US. I can send you stablecoins right now and you can use them to pay for goods and services where you're at and you'll get it within seconds, right? Can't
That's
say I
right.
can do that with Bitcoin. Can't say I can do that with your NFT, but I can certainly do it with with a stablecoin for sure.
Hmm.
Um, and that's the main reason why it's so important, honestly, because there's big financial institutions who are betting on the value of groups like Tether and Circle, Athena, PayPal, Paxos, and the Global Dollar Consortium. All of these groups coming together to provide a stable coin that's pegged to the value of one piece of fiat currency. In this case, the majority of them are the US dollar. But, in the event that you needed a decentralized, I use that word loosely, uh, non-sovereign is the better word, type of currency that doesn't rely on, the fact about geopolitics and uh, local issues, stuff like that. That's where these things come in handy. Where was I seeing? They recently turned on um, stable coins so they work well. Is it the Bahamas? Might be the Bahamas. We talked about it last week. I'd have to look for the thing. Either way. Um, there are multiple groups around the world that are using stable coins as part of things like UBI, Universal Basic Income. Marshall Islands, which is U.S. territory, started that there for citizens there using stable coins. There's just a lot of really great technology that comes with stablecoins. You don't have to, like, if I wanted to pay Robert, I could either send him a lump sum of, $10,000, or I could stream him that over a month. Like I can stream it every 10 minutes for a whole month. So he'll actually get that either upfront or in a streamed payment. I think that's technology that's really cool as well that you won't get in today's financial system. So
I
anyway,
prefer
I'm
the
just
lump sum.
shilling. I prefer the lump sum too. But let's not get it twisted. So we'll see exactly how this kind of works out. But I'm excited to see where this goes because it's quite obvious, at least in the United States, most of this revolution is still going to continue to happen regardless if the Clarity Act passes. Let's see if we have an update on FOMC before we go. They are holding rates 9-3. So the idea was that they were going to raise rates 25 bips. Some
How's
red
the market
lines here.
reacting?
Yeah. Is the market reacting? Let's look.
Bitcoin just kind of restabilized itself. It
Yeah.
didn't do anything.
ETH going up a little bit. Yeah, we're seeing some movement over the last hour. We'll see how this kind of gets them holding rates steady and then seeing what Trump does with Iran over the next 48 hours. I think will be a very interesting direction of where the market goes from here. Whether or
And
not
maybe a
people
surprise.
continue to be bullish or they just kind of hunker down and start taking safety positions. You were
And
saying,
maybe a
Robert? I'm sorry.
surprise. Oh, sorry, and maybe a
Yeah.
surprise Clarity Act vote. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something if they hold a floor vote tonight? And, you know, I do think, based on how they're framing this, not only because of all of this support, because the midterms are in a couple of months, and the idea that the U.S. could possibly be falling behind in, frankly, what is a national security issue. Crypto is a national security issue at this point. When entire sovereign countries are profiting off their GDP off of activities in this space, whether it's North Korea or the United States or Argentina, that's when you know that things like issues like this matter. Market structure bills matter. Um, I'm very curious to see how this all is going to play out because with digital money, you get new methods to rewrite how you do business. Maybe is the way I'll put it. And I'm very curious to see how we do this moving from there. Anyway, Robert, anything you want to close with, sir, before we head home? Thank you for being here, of course.
Yeah, of course. Always good to be here. It's been almost 2 years since I first came on the podcast.
My
Um,
goodness, has it really?
yeah, crazy, right? But yeah, you
Oh
can
my
follow me on
God, it
Omega.
has been. Yeah,
Yeah, if you, that was like mid-September of 2024, I think, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Or maybe
But
like even
before
like a
we
month.
go into that, I just want to know how did you find me? Because you you reached out to me and because of looking at what Beat the Banks or something like that. I don't remember.
I was working for Reserve Protocol at the time,
Yep.
and we were building. I was the DeFi community manager. We were building out a map of different platforms and KOLs to do partnerships for Reserve.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, and so I reached out that way, and then you invited me on the
That's right.
on the podcast. Yeah.
Because this was right before Monetarium, right? Or money? Yeah, before Monetarium, Monarium.
It was yeah, Monerium. It was like I forget. Yeah, it was like right afterwards, like a month afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember meeting. Yeah, because I met then co-founder James Glasscock uh, about 3 weeks afterwards. I met him in Salt Lake City, and
Yeah, and he had been on the pod
yeah,
some months before that. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so funny how things work out, man. Funny how things work
Mm.
out. But yeah, follow Robert Omega underscore 84. Is it the same on Telegram as well if people want to reach out?
Yeah. Telegram if you want to reach out. It's Omega on just one underscore 84.
Okay. But two on the tweeters.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you found great value in the show today, you can check out the mothership, which is at Beacon from Beacon DeFi, school.com/beacon, school.com/beacon. Absolutely free to join. You'll get a message from myself here in the Start Here post with myself and our CEO, Andrew. You'll get access to our free information as well as access to figure out how you can get either one-on-one mentoring for myself or for the team, get access to a community of like-minded investors, again at school.com/beacon from Beacon DeFi at Total Value Locked. Happy to be able to share this all with you today. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we do this show every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We always have a great panel on. Always great to have Robert here with us on the show. And yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back on Friday for Beacon content for our weekly podcast called Beat the Banks, where we talk about self custody and other things. We've kind of pivoted a bit from talking about crypto cards, just overall security. Last week we did an ecosystem tour of Solana. So if you're curious about Solana blockchain, how to get there, what's the wallet you should use, what are the wallets, what are the options, what are the main dexes, protocols we love to use and recommend to our community. Check that out from last Friday here on my Twitter feed or on the Beacon DeFi Twitter feed to get access to that recording. And if you're curious about Solana, this week we'll probably do another ecosystem tour. Most likely it's going to be Base, the layer 2 blockchain from Coinbase, unless somebody else wants to see an ecosystem tour for something else. Feel free to reach out. Let me know. Respond to this post. Let me know what ecosystem you want me to look at. We'll do an ecosystem tour. Give you my thoughts on a lot of different things in that blockchain. So, with that said, we'll see you on Friday. Take care. Good to see you. Oh 07. Beacons up. Banks down. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Say bye, Robert.
See you guys.